Oh, it's over here.
Lana meba lada menam je tenpa sanje jimde. Peje wa shaja tuba ma cha ze ma shudu jabzu chi. Tenpa jimden den di shen shenpa dajo ma yanda ba zobe sanje. Riba dan shabzu tenpa devare sheban ji den jenpa jibunde. Kalo juba lana meba lada menam je tenpa sanje jimden den peje wa shaja tuba ma cha ze. Shudu jabzu chi wo kanze kanyen zo wo jadam. Sajen de no koma demrone ngane jeden de no joje tese keba jola cha chelo namda konga chodo sozo yije jazo seje rombo da chaba jeden somda lame gombo chonye jola cha chelo senjo de ma jemen da be sendo da wa jola cha chelo de jenda seba suma nyame chenchen jola cha chelo gombo tuje jeden 탐제 캠베 덤바보 선놈이 된자수 디신샤라 차자로 답변 되자 정말 기ven에 손에 되지 제도도 좀 저기 신주절라 차자로 전에 제가 라야 되는 라바타나 신게 담바 연된데 게되나야 차자 디바치야 메자신 게와 personsoba 랑게 셈네 요도 되네 산제 담바 Karmara Rimameda, Jumase, Chubarat, Melamoda, Jenda, Decision, Solomon Dia, Tamje Siva, Cobantum, Genji Tadit, Gada Dada, Chivel Lapchu, Sibel Soda, Joan Jova.
To the teacher, last one, welcome here, full destroyer, completely perfect, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Śrāvakas, no supreme guide of beings to be, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened. Last one, glorious one, subdue from the Shakya, I prostrate my office and go. To the teacher, the blessed one, the destroyed, the completely perfect, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, the whole supreme guide of beings to intent, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely fully awakened, the blessed one, glorious comfort, subdue from the Shakya plane, I prostrate my office and go. To the teacher, the blessed one, the whole destroyer, the completely perfect, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugata, no other, supreme guide of beings to be, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, blessed one, the glorious conqueror, subdue from the Shakya clan, I prostrate my offerings and go for refuge. When the supreme humans, you are born in this world, you chased out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies form supremely pure, wisdom motion like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, win of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of miracle qualities like a vast ocean, to you the one complete thusness I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtues which frees one from lower up, the one path, sublime purity, to the Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show a path to liberation, the holy qualified who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community intended virtue,
Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, mirage, flame of lamp, an illusion, drop of dew, rubber, a dream, flash of lightning, cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through this merit, essential means attain to make all see. Subdue the power of laws. And be delivered from emotional suffering, aging, sickness, and death. Sanji Shodo Soji Shodo Chandrakirti Dande Jamsuji Dagi Soji Betsunam Dola Penche Sanjen Jobreshu Sanji Shodo Soji Chandrakirti Dande Jamsuji Dagi Soji Betsunam Dola Penche Sanjen Jobreshu Sanji Shodo Soji Chandrakirti Dande Jamsuji Dagi Soji Betsunam Dola Penche Sanjen Jobreshu Sanji Shodo Soji Chandrakirti Dande Jamsuji Dagi Soji Betsunam Dollar pinches, Sanjay Jogore show. I go for through the merit I create by practicing giving and other relations. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Lama, and Sama. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened through the Buddha, Dharma, and Sama. Through the merit I created by practicing giving and other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. Pumiya Pumba Leshamia, Tela Puma Dedemia, the Shinshiba Pundemia, the Shinshiba Kashi. Kede Sanje Pumba La, Tene Rashi Layamia, Rashin and the Kami, the Shingo Kashi Shengo, then Tedanya, Kashi Tanya Meba, the Chita Shinshiba. Kede Rashi Yemana, Shimo Yuba Chita, Rashita, the Shimota, Moto, the Shinshiba. Kede Pumba Madembra and the Shinshiba Gayana, Tene Tatu, Tene Pumana Madembra, the Shinshiba Gayana, Kashima, the Shinshiba. Nyawa Lamba Mayimba, Nyawa Leverage Major, Nyawa Lemba, the Shinshiba Chimbe, Nabangan the Zage and the Kashi, the Nishin, Bebe, the Shinshiba, the Nyawa Lebechata, Kashi, Nyawa Lamba, the Tina Rajilanian, Dagu, the Shingo, the Hurricane. Tether Yaman Yanamo, Namagunya Tomania, Tombe, the Shinshiba, Chadago, Tomashi, Medoshi, near the Yemen Mijade and David and the Juvaja, Tata Medana, Shiva. Tata Tamela, Shiva de la Colony, Kangi the Shishi. Zimbabwe was on your line. Kangi the Shishi and Zimbabwe was on your line. You're the major. Zimbabwe Kangi the Shishi and Zimbabwe was on your word. Kangi Zimbabwe was on your word in the usual. Tobato not about you. The Shishi bond in the Shishi book, the Shishi bond, the 1 year. The Shishi bond of a Shishi bond, the Shuniba. 관계에 동당 대중도 우면을 되주고 소조 수반면 산제들라 차세로 yeah. So last Sunday we talked about the 6 perfections, definitions, and the result. And then the so 2 kind of awakening minds, cultivating inspirational, yeah, I think awakening mind and engaging awakening mind. And the true followers. Yeah, okay. So, how to practice on the ordinary person stage in particular? Page number 62. How to practice on the ordinary person stage in particular. The questions: if this treatise, the present systematically the both profound and the vast aspect of the Bodhisattva path, as well as their result. So, profound and vast aspect of the Bodhisattva path means. So, profound always referring to the realization emptiness. The vast aspect of the Bodhisattva's path means those five practice of the perfections, generosity, compassions, and do all this kind of, practice generosity, morality, patience, concentrations, and the love and compassions, renunciations, all these included in the vast aspect of the Bodhisattva's path. So their result is Buddhahood, or which constitute the object of attainment, then stage of the path of the ordinary persons, which are so important for the bodhisattvas, should have been presented immediately after the salutations. So in Chandrakirti's Chandrakirti work of that middle way, entering the middle way, salutations right after the salutations, and then he kind of, he goes on explaining the how's the Arya Bhumis of this kind of, 10 ground, or like Bodhisattva's path, salutation and Buddhist, noble Bodhisattva's path. So there is not kind of, specifically he put into them right after the salutation, he did not really talk about, elaborating about the path of accommodations, path of preparations. So right after, he just go on explaining the 10 ground, right? So Lama Tsongkapha says, why, right? He's supposed to be present immediately after the salutations, but this is not the case. Instead, the text began directly with the presentation of the ground of Arya beings. First Bhumi, second Bhumi, third Bhumis. And how could this be right? So then the reply, the stages of the stages of the path of the ordinary person were actually presented already in the context of the salutation verses. So the answer to that is yes, it kind of, the essence of the practice that need to be in the ordinary path is already mentioned in the salutation. So, three principal renunciations, right? The then chösum. So you just read the salutations. 야, 이제 산제는 통한지 산제 창조심 말해줘. 인제선의 니스면로. yes 창조심의 예세는 되죠. Compassion, realization, emptiness, the bodhisattvas, bodhisattvas, awakening mind. So bodhicitta, compassion, realization, emptiness is mentioned in the salutations. So a salutation says I'm going to take homage to the compassions, right? Compassion, that is the root of the the compassion that generates the bodhisattvas, that produce the bodhisattvas, that make the bodhisattvas. As from the bodhisattvas, there's a Buddha. From the Buddha and Śrāvakas and the Pratika Buddhas. So Pratika Buddha, Śrāvakas born from the Buddha, Buddha born from the Bodhisattva, Bodhisattva born from the three the main conditions: compassion, realization, emptiness, and bodhicitta. So the root of this, the root of three conditions: compassion, realization, emptiness, and bodhicitta. The root is the compassion. So he said, first, I'm going to make homage to the compassion, which is the root of all of them, right? All the Arya beings and Buddha and Bodhisattvas. So in this replying, so the question is why Chandrakirti did not particularly mentioning about path of accumulations and path of preparations. Right after the salutation, he jumped and talking about the 10th ground. So the ordinary practice, ordinary path, the path of accumulation, path of preparation is most important. Why he did not really mention that? So the answer for that, yes, it has mentioned the essence that practice need to be practiced in the path of accumulation and preparation are three conditions: compassion, realization, emptiness, and bodhicitta. So that already mentioned in the salutation. So and then after that again he go a little bit further and elaborating on the compassion. So then he talks about compassion towards mere sentient beings, compassion towards the phenomenal reality, compassion with non-referential, no reference. Right? So this has already these are the main practice that need to be done within the path of accumulation, the path of preparations. So he has mentioned stages of the path in the ordinary were actually presented already in the context of the salutation verses. So it is not explained at this point here. So at this point here, right after the salutations, he did not mention. By presenting the three principal causes, the compassion, awakening mind, non-dual awareness. Right? So so this is depending on the terms how we use that. Sometimes called non-dual awareness, sometimes realization emptiness, sometimes the wisdom free from two extreme. Right? So it's all referring to the one point that is the realization emptiness. Emptiness is free from two extreme. The emptiness means absence of intrinsic nature, the very nature that is absence, not just absence of a true extreme, it absence of, and even in the conventional reality, right? Emptiness. So the wisdom that is directly perceiving or engaging on emptiness is the wisdom that not really conceiving or perceiving any conventional reality. So therefore it's non-dual, right? So realization emptiness, conceptually realizing emptiness also has no notion of subject and object separate. Right. So non-dual means
So there's no subject and object distinction in there. There's no such distinction there with it. It's conventional and ultimate. It's not separate.
I mean, the wisdom that is focused on emptiness, wisdom that focusing in the emptiness is what here. There is no kind of affirmative object. I'm talking about the wisdom realizing emptiness has no affirmative object. It's kind of abiding on the absence of phenomenal reality. So the wisdom realizing emptiness does not seize anything to perceive, anything to imagine, anything to conceive. It just simply goes beyond the conceptual reality. So beyond the conceptual realities, there is no subject for the verbal, there is no subject for the thought. So the wisdom realizing emptiness is simply abides in the absence of true extreme. So the object is what we call non-affirmative negation. Right? Non-affirmative negations. There is no conventional reality. There is no intrinsic concept. Nothing. So this is why sometimes the term that we use, non-dual awareness. Non-dual awareness. So wisdom that's really kind of, sometimes it's a term that we use, have gotten in emptiness, has no objective reality. Right. So so this is like, for example, the awake person, right? He just awake from the sleeping. So awake consciousness has no object, not the dream object that can really perceive. Right? So in a dream, he see many things, right? So when he awake, and all he go beyond this dream object. So in the wisdom realizing emptiness is like that. Wisdom realizing emptiness, examining or analyzing on the conventional reality, and in this way, the analyzing and examining on the conventional reality, that wisdom penetrates the conventional reality, go beyond the conventional reality. So at the point that wisdom come to understand, there's nothing to conceive, nothing to imagine.
So the object for that particular wisdom is called non-affirmative negations. It only finds negations. Right. I think the point I'm trying to make is why wisdom realizing emptiness also called non-dual awareness. Right. On the basis of the practice which once become the bodhisattvas. So what makes bodhisattva? Right? What condition that makes individual to become the bodhisattva? Compassion, awakening mind, right? And then non-dual awareness, wisdom realizing emptiness. These three conditions makes the practitioner turn into the bodhisattvas, right? Becoming the bodhisattvas. It was shown that those who wish to enter the great vehicle must first cultivate these three factors. So in the salutations, that it indicates or suggesting that whoever wishes to enter in the great vehicle, first you should cultivate these three factors: compassion, wisdom realizing emptiness, and generating the bodhicitta. These three factors, not only must these three be practiced at the outset, right? Not in just in a beginning state. There must also be practiced even after, right, one has become the bodhisattvas. So these three compassions, wisdom realizing emptiness, and generating awakening mind from the beginning is crucial, most important, right? By practicing, contemplating on that, familiarizing with that, that makes you bodhisattvas. Once you become the bodhisattvas, your main practice is compassion, wisdom realizing emptiness, and the bodhicitta. Right? So it's like before you eat anything, you should eat this oatmeal, and after breakfast, you continuously eat this oatmeal. so this is the only right. This is the only kind of things that matters for the great vehicle, for the Mahayana. Only these three are the most important things. So some people may interpret that, compassion's realization emptiness, bodhisattvas, it's shown is important for the beginner. So once you become the bodhisattvas, maybe it's not that important. You have another things to do. And then Chandrakirti meant is no. After you become the bodhisattvas, you still practice this. So there's wish to enter the great vehicle. The first cultivate these three factors. Not only must these three be practiced at the outset, they must also be practiced even after one has become the bodhisattva. So furthermore, given that nourishes, not tending to duality, is the principal practice of a bodhisattvas, we must understand that its inclusions illustrate the need to train in the other bodhisattvas practice as well. So particularly, right? So Bodhisattva who has already generated the great compassions and constantly meditate on the bodhicitta, or awakening mind, and particularly within these three factors, realization emptiness is always any kind of practice, generosity, love, compassion, moralities. So all this practice has to be underpinned with wisdom realizing emptiness. So the wisdom realizing emptiness is has to go with every practice. So this is like, the antidote, which can antidote that's overcoming the afflictions, preventing the afflictions, to remedy the afflictive or defects or afflictive emotions. So every practice, the bodhisattvas, it has to be led by, led by wisdom realizing emptiness. Right? So some, and the Chandrakirti also mentioned about 6 perfections. Among the 6, the wisdom is like the eye for all the practice. So the eye has to be kind of lead, right? So like generosity, morality, patience, concentrations, compassions, everything has to lead by the compassion, wisdom realizing emptiness. The following passage from the Nagarjuna's Compendium of Sutra as related to this point. So in the sutras, O bodhisattvas, do not apply yourself to the profound nature of things divorced from skillful means. So in the sutra, Buddha says, don't just kind of, without compassions, without compassions, mere wisdom realizing emptiness is not good for bodhisattvas. So bodhisattvas and so not emphasizing or not really crucial. I don't know. It's like, forgetting compassions and exciting more into the emptiness is the sign you may fall in the lower and Hinayana. So that may lead you to the Arhat, Śrāvakas and Pratigya Buddha, not the buddhahood. So buddhahood means the union of the wisdom and the method. Right? If you lose one, wisdom realizing emptiness, simply by compassion, you cannot attain buddhahood. And wisdom realizing emptiness without compassion, again, it's impossible. Right? So that means the Mahayana practice, the great vehicle, in their practice, so there must be the union of this wisdom and the method.
Yes. Can you explain why the word skillful is used to describe the 6 perfections practice?
Skillful means Chandrakirti means sometimes the method giving it a kind of term of skillful. So if you have many methods to deal with, right? Deal with any kind of, either be preventing the afflictive emotions or enhancing general compassions. So skillful means you have to have a method. So
The treating generosity and patience as a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill. Yeah, I think here compassion itself is known, and the text always mentions this is a skill. Compassion, the bodhisattva are the skill. So that means compassion, the bodhisattva is, has to develop, right, through training. So therefore, it's a skill. So wisdom realizing emptiness, emptiness is not from the skill, it's discovering or revealing the truth. Right? So method side is called skill. So this is why the methods are the skill. So without kind of method that is not based with finding the fact, right? And then your skill may degenerate or deteriorate much easier, or has no strength. So that your skill has to be based with wisdom that embedded, or wisdom that is reveals the truth. So the emptiness, realizing emptiness, giving strength to all these skills, and to enhancing the skill also done by the wisdom realizing emptiness. So this is like that's why the emptiness, once you realize in one life, it will continue to go with you many lives. Skill may not follow you. So again, next life you have to kind of, train yourself to so this life with the Southwest, next life, again, you need a lot of effort to build up the skill of this practice of generosities and compassions and moralities and all these things. So that's why it's skill. Yeah. If you have skill of painting or carpenter, right? If you get sick, the skills, if you're physically sick, so all skills just kind of, reduces or have, not much useful. To gain that skill again, you have to make your body much stronger again, right? Regain the strength of the body. Yeah. So that's why it's a skill. So sometimes the computer skills. So people have a computer skill. They study many years at the school, right? They study, and then the new computer comes new. Then again they have to go to school to gain the skill back. So skillful means now here is not just skill, skillful, right? Cognition. Skill and skillful means, and so you have intelligently, you have cultivating the skills, right? Not like someone kind of train you, someone else train you, and you remember the kind of the instruction of that, and you follow that. So this is like borrowed skill. So as long as you're not forgetting the instructions, you have the skill, and you follow this, you forget the instructions, and skill is just gone. The skillful means this skill is not just someone told you, and you have found, right? So I think because of the realization emptiness and the endearment towards the sentient beings continues the building up the skills, right? Sense of endearment towards the sentient beings, the strong kind of unbearable feelings of the other sentient beings, and wisdom realizing emptiness. So these two, right, These two will continuously kind of developing the skills of the generosity and morality and the concentrations, the patience. So Mahayana, these are not like you don't have to focus or emphasize on each particular perfections. So your focus need to be on the wisdom, realizing emptiness, and the compassion. Then automatically, and kind of start to developing the generosities much stronger, moralities, right, and more pure, and patience, and be very spontaneous. This is not like a building house, each brick by brick, right? So when you build a house and you put another brick and then add another. So this is like a computer. You make the foundations and automatically it just keep improving, enhancing by itself. So you don't have to focus on each factors. You just constantly focus on improving and perfecting the wisdom and the compassion. The rest is just kind of like it's like a byproduct. Because as long as there's so strong compassion, sense of endearment, that kind of makes you willing to benefit other, and that makes you more patient, right? So the emptiness and the realization emptiness, compassion and the realization emptiness, so that's why the three principal cause, right, within the salutations, saying compassion, awakening mind, and non-dual awareness. So for the beginner, right, the beginner of the bodhisattvas, so it means path of bodhisattvas who are in the path of accumulation, path of preparations, their main practice, main focus is compassion, wisdom realizing emptiness, and generating awakening mind. Right. So that does not mean you don't practice generosity. That does not mean you don't practice morality and patience and concentrations. So it all contains within the three principles of the cause. If you focus on the compassion and wisdom generating awakening mind, and they all just automatically start to getting built up, right? So I think this is important, because normally when you say practice 6 perfections, so people always think, I perfect one and I kind of then I go up and perfecting another moralities, and after finishing the perfecting morality, then I go perfecting the concentration. So it's almost a physical. This is what happened. If you make something and then you add up and go and find another things they put it on. So here, this is like if you touch the button, right? The button, and all moves, right? So everything that comes with that, the root, 3 principal cause. So, Bodhisattva, do not apply yourself to the profound nature of the things in the emptiness that divorce from skillful means. Right? Don't just meditate in the emptiness without compassion. So for joining method and the wisdom into union is the perfect practice of the bodhisattvas. So this is always we call wisdom, Nyingji Simba. The Simba is like something that is, if you are meditating on the compassion, that compassion is underpinned with wisdom realizing emptiness. The wisdom is always there, right? So when you are meditating emptiness, the meditating on emptiness, the active mind is the realization emptiness, but this is driven by compassion or that enhancing compassion. So that's the kind, skillful means like that. Right? It's not a skill, it's a skillful, right? So so you should thus train in the union of method and wisdom. Don't be contained with partial method or wisdom. Nor place your confidence in mere single-pointedness of the mind, single-pointedness of mind that lacks any distinctive feature of method and wisdom. So here's Lama Tsongkapha, and then like Kamala Shilas, the great master Kamala Shilas, and Chandrakirti, all these great masters, they really kind of, finds single-pointed meditations, meditation which lacks compassion and wisdom is always not that useful. This meditations is not helping you to overcome afflictive emotions. It is not really taming your body, speech, and mind. So that kind of meditations, instead of that kind of meditation, you just go sleep. So sleep can help. Or enjoy food in the sun. So maybe there's some comfort, right? The comfort is similar.
Actually, it's the effect on mind, like overcoming afflictive emotion. Those are one of the distinctive features of the method and wisdom.
Overcoming what?
When it says the distinctive features of method and wisdom.
Yeah.
Those are the features that we are distinguishing.
Yeah, this to say, these two is most important. It's essence of all Mahayana practice. So without these two, without essence of these two, anything you do, or even that single-pointed meditations, is not useful. So a distinctive feature of the method and wisdoms, I noticed now it's not useful. We're saying here is not useful, right? Something that is right now is related to the Mahayana, the great vehicle, according to the great vehicle. So according to the great vehicle, or compared with the great vehicle, not useful means use less relatively with Mahayana, but it can be useful, it can be skill, it can be beneficial, right? Relative compared to another things, right? Like this meditation, maybe single-pointed meditations with this lacking compassion and the wisdom can be more beneficial than going to party, Saturday night party. So right. So it also can help you to for a short time, it may help you to balance the element. Or it can, through that way, it can give you good sleep. Right? So you hear always dependently, it says, is so for the Mahayana practice, an individual, the practitioners who is seeking for enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings, and don't waste your time in doing something that is lacking compassion and wisdom. Right? I noticed that some people fail to demarcate, right, what is to be negated using reasoning that probes the nature of the suchness. So it is connected. Why some people find some people find so excited in just mere meditations that lacking the compassion and wisdom. So, and those people have their own explanations. So I noticed that some people fail to demarcate what is to be negated using reasoning that probes the suchness, nature of the suchness. And they end up negating everything. So those people those people, they think the thought, right? The thought is the defilement, or thought is obscuration or obstacles for the peace, for the heaven, for the liberations. So you have to find a way to stop thinking, right? Stop thinking. So that means compassion is thinking, still obstacles, right? And the practice with generosity is the thinking. So all this mind, has to go with mediation, imaginations. So anything something to do with imaginations and conception. So they think these are the bondage, that binds the mind in samsara. So instead, they find a way to think nothing, right? Nothingness. Kamalash, the stages of meditations, in particular pointing to the Zen, saying, the Zen in the Sanskrit is the Dhyan. Dhyan means meditations. And then some people pronounce it as Zen, right? So Dhyan is the Zen. So some of those masters, they think, right? Thinking, right? Analyzing is all the cause you to continuously falling in the second existence. So you have to find a way to not thinking. So, anyway. But Buddha Shakyamunis in the Varanasi, in Kushalnagar, Bodhgaya, and Sri Lanka, and many places. So the most of the teaching the Buddha taught to think, to contemplate, to reveal the truth. So indirectly, is a deprecation, the teaching that taught by the Buddha for until 81 years old. So, right, all these years is teaching, saying these are not important. So it it's indirectly is, end up negating everything. They conflict, right? Conflict all forms of thought with grasping at true existence. They, they relegate entire presentation of the conventional reality to what exists only from another perspective. So it's like all everything that you think with imagination are mistaken mind, wrong perceptions. Things exist is only in the wrong perceptions, right? So in the reality, there's nothing. So this was kind of quite popular at the time. Still maybe still popular right now. So everything that you think there is something is all because of the wrong perceptions. The reality, there is nothing. Right? So people get excited. Oh, this is really true. So in Tibetan cultures and Tibetan traditions, and Chanangpa, so one of the followers of the Chanangpa, some kind of there is some indications like kind of getting excited into this nothingness, because they don't really explicitly saying in the reality there's nothing, but they says if you think there's something, it's all in the wrong perception. So that means there is nothing in the reality. So so that means this the mind has is not really have the quality to free from two extreme, right? So itself in the extreme annihilations.
So when they say they're mistaken or wrong perception, I mean, we say conceptual thought is deceptive.
Yeah, deceptive.
But it's not necessarily wrong, right? Is that what you said? It's not necessarily wrong perception, like it's apprehending its object, but it's deceptive because we think it's truly existing.
Yeah. So deceptive means is a mistaken and a wrong is two different things. So every thought is mistaken with respect to its appearance. That does not mean that thought has been wrong in its object. Right. So for example, eye consciousness. So I have seen that color. I have seen something. I've seen rainbow. Right. And it's there. So then thought, eye conscious has seen the color, but when thought expresses, so I saw that color. So the thought is kind of, in your mind, you think the color that's seen by the eye consciousness exists by their own essence. So that thought is mistaken with that appearance. But thought also are not mistaken the existing of the color. So, for example, if someone has the the person with jaundice, and if that jaundice is very kind of is quite serious, and when he look at the mountain and the snow mountain, he saw the yellow snow mountain, right? But he also, right, in that perspective, like mistaking in appearing the snow mountain as a yellow is a mistake. But knowing there is snow mountain is not a mistake. right, with sunglasses and white shortened as the black, right? And with respect to the appearance, is a mistake, but knowing there is a shorten is not a mistake. The wrong perception means appearance and perceived as both a mistake. Wrong perceptions, the thought that the apprehending the self as a permanent, self as the independent. So these are wrong perception. It's appearance mistake, an object that you're perceiving, or kind of the object that you perceive is wrongly perceived. So those some of the school, and they kind of pretending they are analyzing on the reality. So, and then Buddha in the sutra, this is things do not exist, right? Things do not exist inherently. Buddha sometimes things do not exist, and then conventionally things exist. So they interpret that, they saw the sutra, that this kind of line. So things exist in conventional means, things exist in the face of the wrong perception. So existing means existing in the wrong perceptions. So if things exist in the wrong perceptions, do things exist in the real? No. So they exist in the wrong perception. And the reality, how things exist, things do not exist. This is that they interpret, how they interpret in sutras. So these are, I think this in the human is kind of like this is the one reality with the human being, human society. Right? So those when you look at their histories, how this kind of view becomes so popular. So, and who started, why people follow it. So most of the time you see those masters, they some are they're already either they are very most of the time those people like with very famous people and very wealthy and very have very powerful background, and they have very little knowledge. So when they start teaching, many people follow us because of their name, because of their background, right? And because they have very small knowledge, and they interpret in a very wrong, and they lead in the very wrong directions. So this is always like that. Yeah, this even in right now still, yeah. You have to pretend intelligent. You have to have power. So by pretending and power, it's really you can get attractions. So anyway, so those people are kind of, confront all the grasping at the true existence and the entire presentation of conventional reality to what exists only from another perspective. They assert that on the resultant stage, there is only Dharmakaya, by which they means mere suchness devoid of nourishes. And they say that the Buddha's form body, Rupakaya, exists purely within the subjective experience of the spiritual trainees. So I think, in Nagarjuna's text, they also talk about when Arhat, Thamenyande, Nirvana with residue, Nirvana without residues, right? So Nirvana, when it comes to Nirvana without residue. So the actual sutra in the Buddhas, in the sutra, when it says, I don't kind of remember exactly the words, but it says Nirvana is like, the the bottom limb ends with exhaustion of the exhaustion of the what called wick or oil. So Nirvana is like that. So what kind of literally means Nirvana means nirvana, it means like the end of suffering. It's like kind of like end of suffering. Ending the suffering is like an end of the bottom limb through exhaustion of the wick and oil. So Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti and all these great masters, the Prasangic school, they says Nirvana means the end of cycle existence. So that means the individual no longer need to born in cycle existence. Why there's the end of cycle existence? Because of the exhaustion or the cessation of the afflictive emotion and cessation of the negative karma, the exhaustion of the wick and oil that makes the end of the bottom limb. So this is what we interpret. So that means that means the Nirvana with residue, Nirvana without residues. Right. So now this is in Pali tradition, particularly Siddhanta school and Vaibhashika school, when they interpret their sutra, or they're ending the bottom limb from exhaustion of the kind of wick and oils, means, so they say, this is talking about the final achievement. So what is the final achievement? When you attain an arhat, and then the arhat, when they pass away, right? When they pass away, they become turning into non-existence. No consciousness, no body. So you become totally non-existing, like bottom limb ends. So then the kind of Nagarjuna defines this very kind of, what do you call that? The stage, or it's the statement itself is the contradict, because you say it's achievement. if there's achievement, final achievement, and there must be someone who has achieved that, right? So when there is no one achieving it, become attaining nothing. That's why you call it achievement. So in this way, there's like sutras, the interpretation, depending on how you interpret, how you understand that. So in a similar way, kind of, conventional and ultimate, right? So the conventional, if conventional means, in Tibetan terms, we use kunzup demba, conventional truth, right? Conventional truth. Kunzup means now things that exist through mental construct, right? By conceptually constructing, fabricating, right? Conceptually fabricated or conceptually constructed with basis. What you have smelled, what you experience, what you see, what you hear, what you touch, based with that, and conceptually interpreted in, like, so for example, when you see with your eye many trees gathers in certain place, right? And conceptually constructing a forest as a singular. So this thought is making that up as a forest, as a singular. So this forest, for existing, right? For existing of the forest has basis because there is a tree, right? We are only called forest when there is many trees together. We don't call forest, right, when there's no tree. So the government, a garden, right, people, or then, so these are conceptually constructing based on what you sensorily experience, directly perceive. So the entity that you have made it up by the thought and based on what you see and what you smell. So those mental constructs are conventional reality. So conceptually, it created or projected the reality that has basis all the time. So things that is really dependently designated. So that's like dependently. So you have designated a forest as a singular based on many trees, the collection of many trees. But so, and then the question is, based on the many trees, how can you construct a forest as a singular? The singular does not constitute a forest as a singular. Is not suitable to constitute by depending on the many trees. The singular is first you construct a forest. So then, right, and then the forest is like it's like composite in the component phenomena. The forest has many trees. This forest has this kind of the animals live in. This forest has this kind of different kind of grasses on that. Right? So the forest becomes the possessor, which possess not only trees, but grass and animal. So this through the interpretations. So that really kind of, there's some kind of indication that So now you can say, yes, this is the singular. So this is not kind of, the conceptual construct pointing at the sign or indications that marked by the thought. So then you're calling it singular. Not just looking at the many trees, you're calling it singular. Right? It's a singular because it seems is constructed by the thought, right? And then it can cover up all the trees, not only the tree, and other than tree, there's many that including in it. So this sign that marked by the thought, right? It can include many things. It can cover up all many factors. So just looking up in the mental construct, say, oh, this is the singular. So I'm going to call it a forest. Right? So the a forest is not decided by the trees. Right? Tree did not vote it, a forest as a singular, right? Not like people make the government. A trees did not make a forest as a singular. Your mental construct, right? So your thought is constructed, and it seems it seems is the it possesses many of the things by itself, right? So it's not a tree, not an animal, not a grass. Right. So therefore it's just, these are called, what makes us to say is conventional reality. Is a conventional something out of habit. Or this is how I want to. So that's how this happened. Right? This is all, we all think in the same way. Right? So me and my body, me and my body, me and my five aggregates, me and my I consciousness. So out of habit, out of conventional, we constructed I am, right? That is being separate from the body, that is being separate from the feeling, separate from the perceptions, right? It's because of the thought. This is how we do that, I want it. Not because the body I myself exist first, then I wait for my body to come out from mother's womb. So then I said, oh, now this is mine. It's not like that. Or the body happened to exist first, then, and right after the body, and then some, I came from different places, say, oh, this is my body. No. So those are called conventional, kunzubtu demba. Like, there's not much the analyze. It's not through the reasoning. Right. So this conventional reality is not by the wrong perception, because this has based with direct sensual perceptions, direct consciousness. Right? So we cannot say this is merely exists in the wrong perception. So so some masters they fail to understand the conventional reality. Then they interpret that, oh, things do not exist, right? In the reality, there's nothing. So if things that you think something exists, is you project things, right? So that very mind that projecting things to be existing is the wrong perceptions. So this is how some masters think that. And also remember that so in the sutra, Bodhisattva Muni, Buddha says, when there's a barley seed, there will be barley sprout. Right now, there will be barley sprout. The barley sprout, when it manifests, physically manifests. So barley sprout is because of the seed, but it itself is not the seed. Itself is not different from the seed. Right? So barley sprout is not the seed. Right? Means barley sprout is not the seed. Means seed is not transferred. Right? In the duration of the barley sprout. Seed is not transferring it. So therefore, sprout is not the seed. Seed is not the sprout. Sprout because of the seed. Right? When there is a seed, the sprout. So what it's saying is the seed, the giving rise to the sprout, is a conceptual. So right? So conceptual, seed is when the sprout manifests, seed has to be ceased to exist. So that is seed is that indicates seed is impermanent. And when seed disintegrate, right? Disintegrate, that turn into sprout means although seed has disintegrated, impermanent, but not turned into nothing. Right? It hasn't turned into nothing. There's a sprout. Like yesterday milk and today yogurt. So when yogurt, the milk that yesterday was ceased to exist. So that means it only in proving this milk was impermanent. Right? So because of the yesterday milk, they turn into the milk, yogurt. So that means milk impermanent and not discontinued, not dissipated. So impermanent disintegration, died, cannot be interpreted, become non-existent. So died, right, destroyed, disintegrated, right? So it does not mean turning into nothing. So, so then, what else you have? Example: died, disintegrate, right? Cease to exist, but not dissipated. Right? Yesterday, last night, fighting, morning, upset. You cease. Right? So right when you wake up, so uncomfortable. So last night fighting, right? Too much drinking last night, morning headache. So not dissipated. A drunk is not still there, right? It hasn't dissipated. It is giving rise to the result. So people have hard time when they come to understand, when it comes to knowing there must be continuum. They always think one single entity, the constant happening, is the continuum. So the Buddha says that's not the continuum. Right? Yogurt is the continuum of the milk, but milk did not, right, continuously exist with yogurt. Right? And also, in reality, a minute is the continuum for 60 seconds, but the seconds that make the minute never continue. There is no continuum of any second that continuously exists. So those are, we call, conventional, mental construct. These are cannot, there is no logic, conventional logic, reasoning, and ultimate reasoning can disapprove of the existing of minute, existing of continuum. So this continuum, and how's that? The continuum of the milk, right? Continuum of the yogurt, the continuum remaining of minute for 60 seconds, right? There is no any valid reasoning to disapprove. So you cannot disapprove minute is remaining for 60 seconds. So you may say, so those masters who interpret conventional means wrong perceptions, they may say within the seconds, kind of each second never continues to exist. Therefore, minute that exists out of that collection of the seconds, how can that be continued? So when they say the minute not continue, right? So then they have no time. They haven't remained for a week or a year or a day. So they have a very short life. We cannot kind of, we cannot really kind of greet them, how have you been? So they have never been. So how are you doing? They're doing nothing. So they cannot exist. So the mentally constructed phenomena at the minute remaining for 60 seconds, or yogurt is the continuum of the milk. Milk is continuum, but not continuous exist with yogurt. So if you find there's no contradictions, although milk is not continuous exist with yogurt, but yogurt is the continuum of the milk, right? This person, human being, and right, the self is a human being and a monk. When he died, next life is the continuum of that person. But myself continues to not exist with next life. If I exist continues with another life, so there will be two persons. Then one is monk, one is not a monk. If I'm born an elephant, there's two, right? One is human being, one is the elephant. Maybe human being ride on the elephant. So there is continuum is the mental construct. There's no physically, nothing really continues. So, yeah, many of the people have hard time to understand this. This is kind of, so that's why the best, easiest to say everything is kind of illusion. Everything is wrong perceptions. So you want to go with easier, you want to go with effective. So yeah, those people, even this, they says the Rupakayas, Buddha's form body is, in the reality, there is no form body. The form body means it just appears in the sentient beings' consciousness. So the form body exists in sentient beings' mind. there's no form body that belongs to the Buddha, they said. So, if there's no form body in Buddha, so that means there is no form. There is, the color that you see with your eye, right, without any form outside. So that means the color is projection of the eye sense power. The color cannot be created by the light and the form and the reflection, by the light will reflect on the form. So they have to go with the color is just exists in my eye consciousness. So that's a mistake. That's totally wrong. Yeah. If the light's not light hitting on a form, that reflect received in sense power. Right. So the light itself is again generated or produced through the space and a wave like that. Right. So, and why do they say the form of the Buddha belongs to the sentient beings, not the Buddha? So that means Buddha has no form. Yeah, sometimes these are this kind of the interpretation, easy interpretations, or some people says, so my main goal is to finish the job. So during the talk, you just says anything, but you just kill the time. Right? So it's kind of like that. It's not really, And sometimes non-Buddhists or some of the non-Buddhists also kind of have this similar. So spiritual trainees, for those who make such assertions, for those who make such assertions, all these facts, how, on the basis of the spiritual authority and the reasonings, Śrāvakas and the Pratika Buddha are born from sovereign sage. Buddha are in turn born from the bodhisattvas, and so on, will not constitute the standpoint of entering the middle way. So this kind of the view of with this kind of view, you cannot really understand the entering the middle way point of view. Furthermore, the three factors to be cultivated would be presented merely from the standpoint of others, and thus would not represent the Madhyamika own perspective. So in the Madhyamika, if you say everything is from the other's perspective, and your existing is just because he believed you exist, right? So your existing is because other who believe you exist. But you yourself, from I don't exist. If you say like that, it's kind of totally pointless. So Madhyamika's own perspectives. In so doing, they would be denigrating all the path that they themselves need to practice. Moreover, all the statement about how sentient beings who lack intrinsic existence revolve in secular existence through the 6 factors that parallel future of the water will become nothing but the series of contradictions. Recognize, therefore, that such proponents are peddling distorted exposition of the meaning of the treatise, starting right from its salutation verses, understanding that even with respect to the training in the generosity and so on presented in the context of the ground of Aryas, there are many deeds that need to be practiced from the start, right from the level of the ordinary persons. We should strive to engage in their practice from this very moment. So that means the suffering of sentient being is real, is not like wrong perception, right? Sentient beings, that is under sentient beings suffering, due to the I think like the sentient beings suffering due to their mind being tied up with karma and afflictions. So, right? And then sentient beings continue with the cycle in like a lower realm to the higher realm to the lower realm, again and again, the cycling, the samsara. So these are not just kind of our wrong perceptions. Suffering is the reality. And then the antidote for the suffering of the sentient beings, antidote for the suffering, the cause of the suffering, like afflicted emotions, right? Realization emptiness is direct antidote for afflicted emotions, to reduce and to weakening the afflicted emotions, are all not a wrong perceptions. It's all real. So then Lama Tsongkapha says, so we should strive to engage in their practice from this very moment, from now on, from today. So we should practice realization emptiness, compassions, and awakening mind. Yeah. Any questions?
Ishala, can I have a long question?
Long time, long questions. Yes. I cannot hear you.
Ishala. So it is reflected. It's gay. You cannot hear? Maybe I just need to just a second. I will try to move to a different place. Maybe the internet connection.
Yeah, I can hear you. Without the video, I can hear you.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, Geshe-la, my question is about suffering of sentient beings and also Buddha real and bodhisattvas, and in relationship to kind of space and time. It seems that time, it's dependently, the sentient beings and the length of their suffering is really dependent on the karma of the sentient beings. If it's a hell realm, it's a very long suffering. If it's a human realm, it's a shorter lifespan. And level of suffering in the time also depends if it's like God realm, much longer time and more happy. So it seems that time is really dependently arising and suffering from the sentient beings. But my question is more about the space. Space is uncompounded. Everything kind of manifests in a space. So is the space the same for the perception of the sentient beings of the six realms, the perception of bodhisattvas, and also the perception of Buddhas? And I know that space, it's a lack of abstraction. So my thought is, if bodhisattvas perceive everything like on the first level already, as thing is not inherently existent. So it means they even perceive abstractions as not inherently existent, must be. So it's probably from a bodhisattva level and sentient beings level, even abstractions in space perceived differently. And also we see the perception of space on a physical level, and we go to the mental level, because it's like, we can say emptiness very often also associated with a space. So also when we have our thoughts arise, it's like almost like abstractions. It's like a space, and they dissolve. It's like dissolve into space. So my question is, Geshe-la, for you, perception of the space from the sentient being's perception, from bodhisattva perception, and from Buddha's perception, and also on a physical level when we see the space, and on the mental perception. That's my question. Thank you.
So let me boil this for a while.
I know it's long. I was reflecting about this for the last maybe couple of months.
Yeah.
And then
You have storage all the questions for 2 months.
maybe longer. Yes. Maybe a few years. It's accumulation of few years, reflection and question, investigation.
So I think maybe I'll just maybe touch on your. So you have seem to be kind of understanding the time and the space has its own kind of activities.
Yes, yes.
So it's kind of, it's very like, and then you also kind of commenting on the space, how it has its own activity for sentient beings. For the hell drum is longer, right? The time.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So normally in the Dhammakaya, and this is people who has kind of difficult sleeping, they always find night is too long. So people has no difficult sleeping, they find so night is short. People have difficult in the daytime dealing with people, and they find day is too long. So when they come back and sleep, this is the night is short. And again, another people who has difficulty sleeping, they say, "Oh, no, night is too long. It's too boring." So this dependent is it? Yeah, it's interpreted in the different ways. But that means what I'm trying to say, the time has no intrinsic activity by itself to influence or to cause anything to the sentient beings, because there is no independent time. And it's similar to the space like that. And the form, right? Even the elements like air that you breathe in and out. So when you get angry, your chest full, and there's air filled in your body. It's not done by the air itself, right? So when you get angry, right, and then that emotionals that kind of collects the air in the body, in the chest. So your thought is doing. So the air is not causing any suffering to you from the air from itself, right? the element does not cause the suffering from its own nature. It's your thought. Then when the thought is uncomfortable, thought is very disturbance, then that really kind of, disturbing thought when it collects the elements. So, and then as a result, and physically discomfort. So you cannot blame to the air that you breathe in. When you're happy, you breathe in, right? When you get angry, you don't select the air. Oh, I'm getting angry. I breathe from here. I breathe from there. So air has nothing to do with that. So then your last question is about, I forgot the final, which
it's kind of like emptiness, very often associated with the
dissolving
space.
in the space. No, the space and the emptiness. Emptiness is the empty from negation element. Space is empty of obstructive phenomena. So the emptiness, you can resemble the emptiness to the space, right? But the emptiness and the space is not the same. Space defined from the absence of obstructive contact, not the negation element of the three extreme. So emptiness is absence of, emptiness, absence of intrinsic existence. The absence of intrinsic existence is like, negation element is not like, for example, if there is something on the, like monkey or raccoon on your house, and you just kind of try to get rid of that and make it empty, right? So intrinsic nature is not really landing or staying on each phenomena. So your misconceptions, creating misconceptions, mistakenly conceive the intrinsic nature of the phenomena. And the wisdom that understands that intrinsic nature never exists with phenomena. So the realization of emptiness is kind of, revealing the true nature of the phenomena. So that very kind of what you have realized is absence of intrinsic nature, right? Absence of intrinsic existence. So the absence of intrinsic existence is the emptiness. Intrinsic existing is non-existing, but conception, out of misconception, you conceive that exists with each phenomena. So the space and emptiness is, by definitions, is kind of, there's a big difference. Space, mere absence of obstructive contact, not touch, not, talk about regba. Regba means touch, tactility. And toba means kind of, obstruct, right? Sometimes the wind is obstructive phenomena. You can block the wind. So wind just kind of here, it's just kind of, it cannot go beyond that. So the wind has obstructive nature. Although it cannot be seen, it cannot be touched, but it is obstructive nature. So the space is defined as absence of obstructive. So space is just absence of obstructive nature. The space by itself has no activity, right, from its own side to create or to cause anything. But, right, but the obstructive, the absence of obstructive is also because of the obstructive phenomena. If there is no obstructive nature, and there is no space. When there is something in the front here, there's a table. So I cannot physically go through it. I have to go on the other side. So if someone move it, so I have a space. My obstructive nature has a space that provided by this table by moving on the side. So there is no independent space by itself. Right? When this table moves, this body has a space to move around. Right? When this table is in the house in front of me, this body has no space to move. So it has to find another way. So this body can get the space, right, from this table. Right? I can get the space from this table. So if you have walls, so you can get bigger space from this wall by pushing it farther. So the space due to obstructive phenomena, the space, the characteristic is absence of obstructive contact.
Geshe-la, are all the obstructive phenomena are compounded? Because space is uncompounded, and are they all obstructed phenomena are compounded?
Obstructive, I think that depending on how do you interpret the obstructive. Sometimes you say the cataract is obstructive appearing, right? Obscuring appearing. Huh?
Julie has a question.
Oh, okay. So the obstructive means misconception can obstruct the mind to perceive things as they are. So I think that depends on how you interpret that obstruct thought. So the thought is always obstructed by the imagination to see the reality. Thought and the language, right? So when you think, right now you are imagining the car that park on the parking lot. This thought, right, cannot directly perceive the car. So this is where you can imagine, but you cannot see someone is in the car, is there key or book left or not. Thought cannot see it because it's obstructed by the imagination. It has to go through the imagination. So in this way, this obstructive is not physical obstructive.
So Geshe-la, I think maybe I will ask my question here differently. Are all other phenomena except the space are compounded?
All phenomena
are compounded because the space isn't compounded, but everything else seems compounded. So is everything else is compounded? And if it's compounded, it means it's impermanent. And this is kind of, then it's empty of inherent existence.
Emptiness is not a compounded. So the compounded means the cause and the condition. Compounded by the cause and the condition. So emptiness is not out of condition, not out of cause.
So here it means also another similarity with the space. Is space is uncompounded, and emptiness is also uncompounded.
Emptiness is not compounded in the sense, right, there is no cause and condition to create emptiness. Emptiness is always absence. No one made it up, right? So uncompounded. And then also, so like in the debate we record here, sometimes we use, or non-elephant is uncompounded, right? So non-elephant is not produced by any cosmic condition. Non-tree is not uncompounded. Not the garlic naan. So garlic naan is compounded in the kitchen. So non-elephant, non-tree, right? Non-tables. These are phenomena you can characterize with things, right? So it's not really a cause and conditioned by any kind of functional phenomena.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Geshe-la. I will keep asking questions next time.
Sure, yeah. Oh, Julie has a question. Julie says, how is the space? Is that? How is space permanent if dependent upon, what's that? Obstructive phenomena. How space is permanent if dependent upon obstructive phenomena. Yeah. Space is the absence of the mere absence of obstructive contact. The very character itself is not created by any cosmic condition. So when you join with, so hollow in the body. So then it says, oh, this hollow in the body, without this I cannot breathe. Without this, my heart cannot beat. Right? So this hollow in the body and allowing my organs to move, and I can breathe well. The hollow in the organ fluid, right? That makes the kind of sound. Right? So this is why they say the hollow in the body. So when it goes with the fluid, right? Yeah, fluid, fluid, and the body, like stomach, hollow. So then it's conditioned phenomena. So just the space, mere absence of obstructive contact, it is not conditioned phenomena. So any permanent phenomena, anything that exists, a phenomena, it has to be based on the conditional phenomena. Without any conditional phenomena, no such thing could exist. Even permanent. Permanent also depending on impermanent. Right? So if there is no conditional phenomena, there's nothing to know something is permanent or impermanent. So the conditional phenomena is the basis for things to exist. So dependent upon the obstructive phenomena, depending upon obstructive phenomena, and caused by obstructive phenomena, or part of the obstructive phenomena are different. The space means no obstructive phenomena is the space. Right? No obstructive phenomena is the space. So what makes you believe the no obstructive phenomena? Can you know no obstructive phenomena without knowing obstructive phenomena? No. And can you make right obstructive phenomena without the absence of obstructive phenomena without obstructive phenomena? No. If there's no obstructive phenomena, you cannot make space. There's no reason to make space. There's no one put effort to make space. So it's just when it comes to the general obstructive, absence of obstructive phenomena, and you cannot find the cause and the condition to make it. So when it comes to the space in the hollow in the body, then it says, oh, there's a cause and condition. And it comes to the house or this space. So I can make it bigger and smaller, right? So space is not conditional phenomena, right? When the space in the body is a conditional phenomenon. Space in your house is conditional phenomena. Normally, the space has no directions, right? Space has no directions. But people call it my space and your space. And that is, right, is space and that space. Space on the west side, west, space on the east. If there is no direction in space, why people call it my side, my space, and your space? Like air not belong to anyone, but we say, it's my air to breathe, right? So it join, it kind of connect to the things, and then it happen to have a cause and a condition. Without kind of connecting or relating to any phenomena, and just live in general has no cause and condition. But you cannot deny that it's existing. So these are all, mental projections. So is space similar to the element air, water, and fire? Yeah, space is like that. So the Prasangika school, is not really kind of accepting or agreeing, right? The independent time and the independent space, independent air. There's nothing. No element is independent. No space independent. There's no independent anything. So sometimes people study on one kind of, they try to kind of educate themselves on one field. So that means you are trying to understand, gain knowledge from the one field, and you don't think it's necessary to know the other field of the reality. And then, because one side is dark, right? So in one side you gain a lot of knowledge, and then you just find comfortable in the darkness. So because you cannot interpret what you're finding, you're not being able to know, and there's more you find there's no more kind of possible of interpreting. For example, and the scientists then say kind of physics, right? The physics. So they analyzed the color. They could not find the color nowhere that exists, right? The color that exists as an independent object. And then, so what they're studying is how color exists, where color exists, what is making color to be existing. So they could not find the color, right, that can be caused by any factors. That is, there is no color that exists by its own essence. And so no finding, everything is not finding, not finding. There's, right? And then you haven't studied and how, right? The color is dependent in rising. So then you say, oh, color exists in the retina, color exists in the mind. That's you're not professional finding. So you're comfortable in the not professional finding. So so ignorance is bliss. That's right. So not knowing is the best way to stay most safe. So anyways, yeah. So here in the Prasangika school, everything is dependent arising through the mental construct, right? And that mental construct is the reality because it exists with basis. It exists with basis. So that there is a basis for that mental construct. So therefore, it is a conventional reality. So this is the basis for language, the expressive, right? And so in the Prasangika school, and if you fail to put faith in a conventional reality, then kind of that may cause you to falling into nihilism, the deprecating on the conventional reality. So understand the conventional reality, how things are dependent arising, how things are constructed by the thought, with what basis, right? So constructed by the thought with the designations as marked and signed, and with things, with another factors. And that become the kind of, the basis for the language to express things. But that thing is it exists merely in the face of thought. So so without losing any faith in this kind of conventional reality, and when you generate the compassion towards the sentient beings, the compassion that, compassion with no attachment, because there's no solid target to fixate on. But the sentient beings is a dependent arising. The suffering of the sentient beings is a dependent arising, but not intrinsically exist. So the presenting the ground of the Arya Bodhisattvas. This third outline has 3 parts. The presenting the 10 ground collectively, presenting the individual ground, and presenting the qualities of the 10 ground. The presenting the 10 ground collectively, the explanations here of the 11 ground, such as perfect joy. So perfect joy is the first bhumi. Is based on the following passage in the Precious Garland, where a broad presentation of 10 or 11 ground is given. Just as the 8 Śrāvakas ground are taught in the Śrāvakas vehicle, the 10 Bodhisattva grounds are found in the great vehicle. So the ground means the connotations of the ground here is a foundation or the basis, So it's the base to the 8th ground for the Śrāvakas. So 8 result, like there's a entering state of Śrāvaka, and then the once return the state of Śrāvaka, and no more returning state of Śrāvaka, and then Arhat. Right. Each result has an engaging. So once the really, true, I think it's like, first entering stage of the Śrāvaka is the noble being of the Hinayana path. Noble being of the Hinayana path. The first noble being of the noble wisdom of the Hinayana path. So at the end of the path of preparations, and beginning of the path of seeing of the Hinayana path. So the end of that called entering or engaging. And then you enter in the noble path. It's true. So in this way, 4 stages result, and each has the engaging. So there's 8 ground in the Śrāvaka. Right. So in a similar way, and they also the term the ground was found in the Great Vehicle as a 10 ground. Sometimes 10, sometimes 11. Chandrakirti also bases his presentation on the 10 ground sutra. Here, the characteristic of the 10 ground, such as the perfect joy, as the 10 awakening mind, must be understood in terms of the ultimate awakening mind. Because sometimes they use noble beings, wisdom, directly, direct realization, emptiness, giving a name of ultimate awakening. So it's not, when you talk about awakening mind, is the Bodhisattva. And here, they particularly giving name of awakening, ultimate awakening. There's an additional word for that, ultimate awakening mind. So each noble being's the wisdom, direct realization, emptiness, is giving a name, ultimate awakening mind. So ultimate awakening mind is empty, right? So it kind of, there's a kind of giving you a hint of this bodhisattvas, the noble beings, the wisdom, is seeing its own, right, kind of, deserving the enlightenment. So it's kind of very getting closer to the enlightenment. So the ultimate awakening mind. So Buddha is free from not only afflictive emotion, even the stain of the afflictive emotions. So each noble bodhisattvas, the wisdom that is directly perceiving emptiness, is seeing, right, kind of Buddhahood. So the Buddhahood that they seize the Buddhahood from their own quality of the mind. So therefore, ultimate awakening mind. Yeah? Boys, 4:30. So we're waiting for Larry to come.
I'm here.
When you showed up, and now it's the end of the class.
Well, let me explain why. We came home last night, and there was this huge stench in the kitchen, and the refrigerator broke and all the food was spoiled. So we went to get a refrigerator.
Oh, you have to buy a new refrigerator?
Yeah, it's quite old. It's not worth fixing.
Yeah, refrigerator get old, it's not good. Human beings getting older, so more wiser, more knowledgeable.
Oh, it's even worse. It's even worse. I'm like an old refrigerator. I probably stink too.
Anyways, 4:30 now. Any questions? No questions? So we'll stop here. Mañjuśrī rinpoche, Mañjuśrī Geshuchi, Jeba Nyamba Mewanyo, Kone Kondo Pebroshi, Tonye Dawa Rinpoche, Mañjuśrī Geshuchi, Jeba Nyamba Mewanyo, Kone Kondo Pebroshi, Thomasimje Tamje Dedan Dinjuchi, Yendro Tamje Tado Tong, Mañjuśrī Kanda Sushi Tada Gunje, Molam Jujuruchi, Karera Weko Veshinus, Pendan Dewa Malun Juwe Ne, Jeresan Tinzi Jazu, Shabeside Badu Dinjuruchi.
May the precious book not yet grown rising. May the bone not multiply or increase volume. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet grown arising from. May the bone have no decline but increase volume. Due to all these merits, may all following by the sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all lower worlds be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness, all powerful genetic intelligence. Remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you very much. Logan, your plate is here. I keep
The next time I come to the Gompa, I'll make sure to
okay.
get it.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye-bye.